Influential American think tank, the Institute for the Study of War, says it believes Ukraine's long-awaited counter-offensive has begun. Several people were killed by merciless Russian shelling in Kherson, the Ukrainian city flooded by the catastrophic destruction of the Kakhovka Dam.
A deal on EU migration rules is finally reached after years of deadlock and bitter infighting between European capitals.
An influential American think tank has announced it believes Ukraine's long-awaited counter-offensive has begun. In a long thread on Twitter, the Institute for the Study of War said on Thursday that it had seen activity throughout Ukraine and indicators suggesting operations were underway across the country. The ISW points out that Ukraine will not formally announce its counter-offensive has started, while Russia and its bloggers will have no qualms about making claims it's repelling assaults, as it did on Monday, with pictures purporting to show Ukrainian armoured vehicles being destroyed. The ISW also says it may take time to assess which side has the upper hand in the counter-offensive. Under fire and running for cover, Ukrainian civilians targeted by Russian shell fire. They've seen it before, but this is in Kherson, where parts of the city have seen catastrophic flooding. The authorities say several people were killed on Thursday, others injured. No mercy in the face of a man-made disaster. Zaporizhzhia, Europe's largest nuclear power plant, has also been affected by the floods. It's controlled by the Russians and needs huge amounts of water to cool its reactors. According to Ukrainian authorities, there's no imminent risk of dangerous overheating. The floods caused by the breach of the Kakhovka Dam cover some 600 square kilometers and have hit both banks of the Dnipro River. On the Russian-controlled side, at least 5 people have been reported dead. On dry land by the riverbanks, thousands of dead fish have been washed up, testifying to the scale of this environmental disaster.
The destruction of the Kakhovka Dam is significantly changing the geography and topography of the Kherson frontline sector in southern Ukraine, says the Institute for the Study of War. Near-infrared imagery captured early in the morning on the 7th of June indicates that the flooding is heavily disrupting Russian prepared defensive positions on the east bank of the Dnipro River, forcing Russian personnel and military equipment to withdraw, especially affecting Russian first-line positions in Gola Pristan and Oleshki. Now, this is the before and after images of flooded homes along the Dnipro River in Oleshki, released by Maxar Technology. Kherson regional governor said about 600 square kilometers of the territory was underwater on Thursday. Ukrainian Southern Operational Command spokesperson Natalia Homenyuk stated that Russian forces relocated their personnel and military equipment from 5 to 15 kilometers from the flood zone, which places Russian forces out of artillery range of some settlements on the right bank of the Dnipro River they had been attacking. The Ukrainian headquarters established to remediate the consequences of the dam destruction reported that as of the 7th of June, 29 settlements are partially or fully flooded. 19 of them are located on the Ukrainian-controlled territory and 10 on the Russian-occupied territories. The Institute for the Study of War says Russian forces and occupation authorities are responding to the flooding in Kherson region with a great degree of disorganization and thereby exacerbating harm to the civilian population of occupied areas.
To be honest, I didn't really believe I would be sitting here saying this, but here we are. And I am extremely pleased and also very proud to announce that ministers today have adopted general approaches on the Asylum and Migration Management Regulation and the Asylum Procedure Regulation.
Also, of course, has a key role when it comes to these negotiations, measures or no corrective measures to say, well, if members... In the proposal, there are no measures really to ensure compliance, and that has been an issue in the past as well. The Commission, of course, has the possibility of launching infringement procedures. However, these tend to take a long time and are not necessarily the best way to address what at the end of the day is perhaps more a question of politics and of trust between member states in agreeing to a common and unified system.
The Eurozone slipped into technical recession in the first 3 months of the year after experiencing an economic contraction for 2 consecutive quarters. On both occasions, the GDP declined by 0.1%. Households are feeling the brunt of the burden as people continue to struggle with rising prices at supermarkets, paying more interest on their mortgages, and dealing with wages that fail to keep up with the rising cost of living. But far from being pessimistic, Brussels has sought to highlight the, quote, resilience of the economy that continued to create jobs and stressed that the EU as a whole avoided technical recession in the first quarter. The Eurozone's labour market has also remained steady, as unemployment is at its lowest level since the creation of the euro in 1999.
The European Commission is proposing a new ethics body to set standards of conduct across EU institutions. The image of them have been tarnished this year by a cash for influence scandal involving third countries like Qatar. According to the latest polls, 60% of Europeans are unhappy about how the EU is dealing with corruption. The Vice President of the European Commission in charge of rule of law issues told Euronews on Thursday that she understands why people think this way and says that the new ethics body intends to shake things up.
What the people can think about us, I think that they should know the rules regarding trips, gifts, declarations of assets, what the politicians do after the mandate. Well, I think that the people have the right to see clear standards. The ethics body will fill in the gap, the roof above all the institutions, and work on unified standards. Will then reflect in the work of each institution.
The new body is expected to set standards for all EU institutions, including the acceptance of gifts, hospitality or travel, meeting lobbyists and financial interests. But Transparency International, an organisation that deals with ethics in politics, says the new body is not good enough and doesn't meet the expectations of civil society, as it won't have any investigative powers.
For the time being, it seems that the ethics body will not be with actual power, so it would be toothless. Unfortunately, we consider that there should be sanctioning and investigative powers, which is not the case for the moment. So it seems more paper tiger, I would say.
The new body, with representatives from the institutions and 5 independent experts, will seek to agree common standards before the European elections in June 2024.
Every year, 36 million cubic metres of wood are cut from these forests in Romania, out of which only half are legal on paper. A delegation of MEPs concerned about possible illegal logging in the EU Natura 2000 protected site visited the region to see for themselves.
I've seen it with my own eyes, and the destruction is really, really huge. And you can see that the purpose of Natura 2000, the EU law of protection nature, is not protecting there anything. So I've been touched and I'm a little bit angry and I want to act now.
Romania is home to over 500,000 hectares of old growth and virgin forests. In theory, 63% of these are under strict protection, but the reality is completely different. It is legal to cut in Natura 2000 areas, but the rules are very strict.
all the logging approved in Natura 2000 protected areas has been done without carrying environmental impact assessments. So basically practicing complete removal of the forest cover without having any idea which species and habitats they would destroy.
Brussels started an infringement procedure against Romania for this exact reason. An EU directive requires member states to protect animal species and their habitats. Romanian officials insist they're doing that.
Zona a fost controlată de mai multe ori în ultimii 2 ani de zile și de către Corpul de Control al primului ministru și de către Garda Forestieră în urma sesizării Comisiei Europene. Nu s-au constatat niciodată nereguli.
Euronews contacted Romania's environment minister, but he declined to comment.